I'm going to be touching the third rail, but I have to acknowledge it. Women do have a slight advantage. Finding a job and finding a relationship might seem like two totally different things, but when you break them down, they're basically the same broken system. But before we get into that, don't forget to give this video a like. Comment what you think the similarities are, or if you can see any real difference. Don't forget to subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary from a man caught between generations. And last, but certainly not least, feel free to join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. But anyway, hear me out. Both dating and job hunting are part of the human experience and carry similar pressures. That's why I would say that they are quite similar, although not exactly the same, because you can function without one, but not without another one. Watch all the way till the end to find out exactly which one you can function without. Though if you watch my channel, you can probably guess. From unrealistic expectations, endless screenings, scams, ghosting. Does this all sound familiar? You could literally apply both of these to all this to both dating and job hunting. Let's start with the unrealistic expectations, where in dating, both sexes have the things they have to deal with, but generally speaking, men are still expected to be providers despite women's independence and making more money than ever before. Even with all of that, they're still expected to do that. They're still expected to be economic objects. Meanwhile, to be fair, women are still expected to take care of the home, despite also being expected to work. Yeah, I guess you could say it does kind of go back to the biological roots of why things were the way they were, but the problem with dating today is none of this is, a lot of this is still expected deep down, even though, again, women are still expected to work to some extent, while men are still expected to be providers to some extent. Let me put it to you this way: women always want a man who can provide to some extent, even if it's not to consistently be one, even if she still wants financial independence, which is a perfectly valid thing to want. Deep down, a lot of them are still going to want that provider and protector. And this goes both ways. Women are still, I guess, set with the expectation to take care of the home to some extent, even though they are expected to work and do all of that. It is what it is. No matter how much we chip away at the ideas of it, there's still going to be some preference for that deep down going both ways. I think I should just move on to the jobs before I start touching the third rail. Anyway, the way this works with jobs is They want years of experience for low pay. You know, the whole 3 to 5 years of experience for an entry level job. Oh, but it's supposed to be an entry level job. It's supposed to be little or no experience. So the parallels are that both demand too much and offer too little. I mean, you can argue that a man should be able to provide, even if he's not, even if, again, the woman in question is all about the financial independence. Yeah, there's a lot of unrealistic expectations across the board. You let me know in the comments down below if you've experienced any of these unrealistic expectations. Anyway, another thing both of them do are endless screenings and rare callbacks. To everyone out there who's applied to 1,000 job applications and only heard back from like so few you can count them on one hand, you know where I'm coming from. You know where I'm going with this. Same thing if you've been on dating apps and you swiped right so often you reached your limit and still got no matches. Yeah, in dating, you get multiple dates, background screenings, social media checks that women often do, but men are capable of too. Then you maybe get a commitment, even if you even get a reply. So ghosting, that's a thing. We've all been there. Now, jobs, oh god, do not even get me started. Well, I am going to get started. They do multiple interview rounds often. It's never just one interview, you're hired, or one interview, we'll be in touch with you, we chose you. It's usually first interview, okay, we're gonna talk with all the other interviewees and then we'll talk about moving to the next round. If you move on to the next round, that's what happens. If you don't, it's over. Well, the job hunt isn't over, but it's over for you in that particular job. And then both are just time consuming with no guaranteed result. Which, at a certain point, you've got to take some level of risk for some kind of reward, but at a certain point, you start to wonder why you spent all that time doing that. Like, again, apply to 1,000 jobs, hear back from maybe 5 of them. But I digress. Now I really want to talk about how both are seen as essential to life in society. Jobs are necessary for living expenses, contribute to GDP and taxes, while dating is socially framed as necessary for fulfillment and procreation to feed the economic machine, which actually kind of goes back to the whole contributes to GDP and taxes. And both give people a sense of purpose, whether that's paying bills or starting a family. Like how Tim Pool says that more of the 20-something-year-old men that he saw just hanging out somewhere one Saturday would be more motivated to go out and work if they had families because they'd take what they could get because they have a family they have to provide for. Personally, I'm not a fan of this kind of coercion. I think, yes, you should do some kind of work because everyone has living expenses. And if you want to benefit from the system, you should be paying into the system. Taxes, that is. But yeah, both are considered necessary to existing and living. Or I guess a job you need just to exist. Well, you need the income. You don't really need the job. But let's just move on to my next point that, and this is going to be a third rail topic here. I'm going to be touching the third rail, but I have to acknowledge it. Women do have a slight advantage. I say this because there are female focused training programs that exist. I'm just pointing out that they exist. I'm not denying that they exist. They just are. This isn't to make a statement about anything. This is just pointing out the slight edge that women have. And then in dating, oh boy, they really have the advantage. They get more options, apps favor them, and men are lucky to get likes or matches. Let me put it to you this way in dating. Women are lucky to find a match that they truly like. Men are lucky to get a match, period. And as for jobs, again, I'm not trying to make a huge deal about it, but objectively speaking, there are female focused training programs out there. At a certain point, you have to acknowledge that they exist. You let me know in the comments down below whether you think that they're a particularly good or bad thing. Yeah, the misuse of tech has also made both worse, whether dating apps have bots, scams, and ghosting, and then job boards, scams, ghost jobs, and ghosting. Tools meant to make things easier just add some frustration now. Personally, I would be completely in favor of a premium paid dating app where everyone who wants to use it has to pay money and they have to be dedicated to actually using it for what it's intended for rather than to promote an OF or an IG or anything like that. And then job boards, don't even get me started on ghost jobs. That should be, any company that does that should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law because they probably are committing fraud with doing that. My God, do we really need to have to deal with that? It's why I say all jobs should just be real jobs that exist. Unfortunately, we have to live with ghost jobs for now, but call your representative. Have them tell them you need to have them pass legislation to go up against ghost jobs. Or the companies need to be held accountable to some extent to at least provide closure on it so that we know to just move on. Because, again, as I always say, the problem is not the tool itself is value neutral. The problem is how people use it and abuse it. But we've already gone on enough about that. The one big difference between the two that I want to talk about is that you can function in society without dating. It might be a little it might be a little harder to do emotionally speaking, but you can function without dating. You can be single and you'll be perfectly fine. Whereas if you're unemployed, unless you have someone you can fall back on, like if you're my age and you can move back in with your parents or have never left in the first place, like me. If you don't have any kind of backup plan like that, there's no easy way to say this. You're fucked. As I said in my 40-year-old virgin video, and I'm going to say it again. No, I don't think I said it in that one. But I did bring it up later after Loser Maxing put out his video where he pointed out Andy was fine without dating. Yeah, as the 40-year-old virgin shows, Andy was fine without dating. As Loser Maxing said, he seemed perfectly happy without dating until his friends brought it up. Yeah, if you break up with your partner, that's one thing. If you are sent back to the single house, if you will, or I'm trying to think of an analogy for it, but if you become single again for whatever reason, you can move on, you can press forward. It might not be easy, but it can be done. Again, if you lose the job, it's over, unless you have a backup plan. But yeah, that was big similarity the big difference that I had to point out. I'm getting back into the similarities. Both of them have some kind of status. Both of them portray some kind of status depending on your situation. You have a high paying or prestige job, you have social clout. If you're just in a relationship or married, or you have a high value partner, you've also got social clout. And both of these markets have a symbiotic relationship where women often value a man's job more than men value a woman's job, unless it's a red flag job to him, like OF or more traditional adult entertainment, or anything else he might not like. Yeah, unemployed men rarely date successfully, while unemployed women have much better odds. That probably should have been under the women have a slight advantage, but I wanted to talk about the symbiosis. Because again, both markets have some kind of status or prestige that comes with the best of that market. So, again, you have a high value partner, whether you're a man or woman, you've got social clout. You can say, I have an excellent provider if you're a woman. And if you're a man, you can be like, I have a hot chick, bruh. And then again, with jobs, if you're in a high paying job, that's seen as social clout because you have more money. And if you have the prestige, you can be like, oh, this guy is VP of whatever business. I don't know. Anyway, to sum it all up, jobs and dating both run on the same broken mechanics. Too much competition, unrealistic demands, and systems that pretend to help but mostly waste your time. Again, mostly with the technology part, the problem is the profit motive and the people who use and abuse it. And I would also argue the women who promote their Instagrams and OF on the dating apps, or their OF through the Instagram on the dating app. I'm sorry, that's not what the dating apps were made to be used for. I mean, I bet if I went in and tried promoting this channel on a dating app, I would be banned in a heartbeat. Now, again, the main difference between these is that you can skip dating and still survive in a physical sense. You might feel a little unfulfilled to some extent, but you will be able to physically survive without dating. You skip working, and it's game over unless you have a backup plan. But in both, it's all about the trade offs you're willing to make. So, on that note, I'm going to leave it here for the video. You let me know in the comments down below what you think about all this. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe for daily videos of cultural commentary from a man caught between generations, and join me at the Zillennial Nexus Point Discord. Link will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.